Americans care a lot about money. We talk about jobs and taxes and paychecks, but here's what we don't talk about. Right here in the United States, there is a thriving underground economy based on selling children for sex. If sex sells, then business is good. Look at all the money. It was almost $1 billion in this study. But these dirty profits come at a huge cost. This is how sex traffickers do business. It's about supply and demand. First, they need someone to sell. Traffickers target children in their own homes. They find them by combing through social media profiles, looking to spark a conversation. The trafficker targets preteens and teens by finding an end, something to bond over and earn their trust. It could be the promise of a modeling career. They might buy them drugs or alcohol, or provide protection from an already dangerous situation at home. Traffickers gain psychological control and use violent threats to force victims to stay. Once the child is isolated from family and friends, the trafficker puts them up for sale. This is where the demand comes in. Traffickers use internet sites to connect with buyers or Johns, but calling them Johns is too polite. They are abusers. They are purchasing kids for sex. So who are these buyers? Court records show they've been teachers, pastors, cops, and judges. They could be the guy next door. The trafficker gets the money. The buyer gets sex. The child victim gets exploited and sold. So how is this different from prostitution, pornography, or other sexual acts? These victims are minors. Legally, they cannot consent. This isn't the movies. It's not like Pretty Woman or Taken. Richard Gere is not the buyer. Liam Neeson isn't there to save the day. This is sexual exploitation. This is trafficking. This is modern-day slavery. It's selling girls.
All this operates in the shadows. All this operates in secrecy. I'm sure there's guys who say, well, I don't go to underage because I know. You don't know. When I was in the midst of it, I never thought of it. I never thought of sex trafficking. I was paying to escape for 15 minutes, a half an hour just to escape. This emptiness, it's shame, it's guilt, you just feel like you just vomited on yourself. Typical American guy. I mean, baseball, apple pie, and mom, you know, that's me. First 5, 6, 7 years of marriage were good. Have our second child, and my wife doesn't seem to be really interested in me. I wanted that physical affection, and I wasn't getting it from her.
I was in a really rough spot where I needed to make money. And, you know, I have one mom who's already had enough of me, and my dad is out of the picture. So I got very desperate and then entered the world of trafficking. You would be in the apartment alone. Men will request, I want a schoolgirl outfit, or I want R&B music on, you know, like it gets worse. You wait for a knock on the door, and then you have to hug them in a specific way where you would put your hands up the middle of their back and then go back down and then around their hip, because you had to check for guns, knives. You're basically a shell of yourself just doing this act and then like just praying, wishing it's over in the next 2 seconds. These are women's husbands, and these are people's, you know, judges or DAs. They would talk about their wives. Yeah, oh yeah, it was weird. They would talk about their, one even said, I have a 19-year-old daughter. They just look like normal people. Normal flippin' people.
If there's no me's, there's no need to have supply. If there's nobody going to buy it, there's no need to have supply.
We live in the land of denial.
Drug dealers have become extremely sophisticated.
Heroin dealers deliver now to suburban homes. I mean, heroin is everywhere, and it's cheap.
It made the transaction, then I hop right back on the highway.
We just live in a complicated society. We don't want to know that there is a problem.
You get a real warm sensation that kind of feels like pins and needles.
People are literally dying for help, and we're not giving them the help they need.
Unless there is intervention, the number of deaths are going to spike.
It's been a year since we discovered how many young deaths are linked to heroin. And in that year, more people are finally talking about how heroin is devastating our communities. Law enforcement is working together across jurisdictions. Advocacy groups are being heard at the state capitol, and schools are devoting class time to lessons about heroin prevention. But young people are still dying, and not just in our wealthy suburbs.
So this is the new triangle. We've always known cities like Roswell, Alpharetta, and Johns Creek were in the triangle. Cities now include Kennesaw, Ackworth, Cartersville, as far north as Canton, Cumming, Flowery Branch, Gainesville.
It's gotten bigger.
Keeps growing.
To understand the hold heroin has on our community, we're following the lives of 5 young people. They've all overdosed or been arrested, and 2 died in the past 3 months.
I could never actually figure out a way to just feel better. You know, even using heroin wasn't working. And it was scary. I remember pouring a little bit out on my center console, and that's the last thing I remember. My boyfriend said he was slapping me, pinching me, like anything to wake me up, nothing.
If I could just get clean, I could beat it, but being sick, I can't get past the sick. And she was clean, and she comes out, and she makes it about 2 weeks, and she's right back at it.
I mean, you meet people, and you'll run with them for a few months, and next thing you know, you get a phone call, and they're dead.
That you're not gonna use.
I don't need a video of this.
No, but you just tell me. You promised me right there on video.
I promise you. I'll call you every day.
From where? No.
Stop.
No.
I finally broke down, and it was God's strength within me to stand up and just say I need help. I had my appendix removed and then got prescribed oxycodone, and then from then on, I didn't have standards for myself. I didn't care. I said, just give me whatever's in front of my face and I'll just take it, just to escape from reality and run from what life's become.
says, God, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to fix myself, but you say there is hope. I don't even know what to fix. His bedroom door was locked, and I'm like, Robbie, and he didn't answer. And I thought, if I could just save the world, then maybe I'll get to keep my son.
Next, the family emergency.
The intensive care for 5 days, packed full of people. And they kept saying, I'm Robbie Hodges' best friend.
And the struggle to hold on or to let go.
The addiction is everything. I mean, and as the sister, you're always in fear. You have depression and anxiety, all that goes along with it. You never know if they're safe. There's just a constant aching in your heart that doesn't go away. I really truly believe that he didn't wake up one day saying, I want to use drugs. He was trying to run and hide from the pain that he had, that he didn't know how to deal with. And that is the hardest part. We love you, Robbie, forever and ever. I can't wait to see you in heaven one day. The pain's always going to be there, but I want to turn it into something positive, and I know my brother would want that. My sister and I, we got my brother's heartbeat tattooed on our wrist. We wanted to put it on our wrist so we're always reminded that he's always with us and he's living through us.
I mean, I always loved her. I told her every day, you know, she was sick over what she had done, stolen from me, all the things, you know. And I said, you know, you could have everything if it would get you where you need to be, you know. And she wanted more than anything just to get clean and be able to take care of her baby.
Yay!
From the light, I could see the car running. And so I was like, she's there, she's there. And I thought maybe she'd just been gone somewhere. Maybe she did pass out and she was just in the parking lot in the car because you could see the car was running. And maybe she's just trying to make up a story before she could come home, you know? And so I said, just run the light, you know? And I jump out of the car and I go over to the car. I can hear the radio and I can see her and I'm banging on the window, Jen. And so I try the door and the damn door's unlocked. But she's down, she's face down and her hand is like, and she's cold, she's in rigor mortis. And I can't get her up and I need to get her up because I need to try to save her. And so my operations manager came around and he pried her up and he got her sitting up and he said, she's gone. And I said, no. And so I'm beating her chest and I'm trying to give her mouth to mouth, you know, and he's calling 911 and she's gone. And so her lips were blue. She just looked so sad.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, I wonder what you are.
Aww. He walked in the door and he said, "Ma," and he didn't even finish it. He didn't even get it out. It's like he knew something was wrong. And so then he would just go room to room and look, and it just killed me. I mean, I didn't know what to do or what to say, and he just waits for it to come back. Sometimes he just lays there and he just stares out the window. I don't know what's going on in his head. But he said, "Why did you send my mommy away?" I said, "I didn't send your mommy away. I would never have sent your mommy away."
Next, the new killer.
This is a new drug that's come onto the scene in the last year, 2 or 3 times stronger than heroin.
Plus, the antidote to heroin.
As soon as they hit her with whatever they use on these kids, she popped right up. It's unbelievable.
And the $4,500 price tag to save lives. 47.7 million Americans have used illicit drugs or misused prescription pills. So how did these drugs find their way into our culture and into our homes? It starts with the drug manufacturer, huge corporations that produce vast amounts of pills. Their employees are in doctors' waiting rooms, but not as patients. Studies show that pharmaceutical sales reps influence the way doctors prescribe certain medications. These powerful prescription drugs are now household names. The drug distributors, or wholesalers, are the middlemen in this process. They supply the quantity of drugs in your local pharmacies and hospitals. These are some of the most profitable companies in the world. Together, the big three bring in hundreds of billions of dollars each year. These distributors are supposed to keep track of each order that they fill and report them to the Drug Enforcement Administration. But an investigation found that these distributors were failing to report suspicious orders for many controlled substances, including opioids. As a result, highly addictive opioids flooded pharmacies. The number of pills far outweighed the need. CDC data shows that some states have more painkiller prescriptions per person than others. In 2015, there were enough opioid prescriptions for every American to be medicated around the clock for 3 weeks. Bottom line, there are too many opioid prescriptions for too many days at too high a dose. It's led to one nation overdosed.
The sound bites, the headlines are not the story.
There's no doubt that this is a tragedy that brings 2 families together.
He was the spark of the room.
This modern day Renaissance man.
It's just different from all those other cases.
Came out, that's when the body was laying outside. We all witnessed the body.
We never really got to be newlyweds. June 22nd happened, which really just shook our whole foundation. And I think the only way anyone kind of can handle this tragedy is just by going day by day. The guy I married went to Haiti after the earthquake to help with humanitarian work over there. You know, he shared water with children in South Sudan. I really hadn't met anyone in my life quite like him.
I was talking to Cain. He called me to tell me that he just got a job, that him and my oldest son and my youngest son would all be working together. He hoped of starting his own clothing line. You know, I told him, you know, you can do anything. You know, you can do anything. Don't set yourself any limits. Between CAINE'S ages of 1 and 3, he was obsessed with the newspaper. When he would carry around like he was a little businessman, he had it on his arm, he'd carry the newspaper around. And, you know, he'd come sit it down, fold it out, and I just watch him. Initial reports, they just showed CAINE in a very bad light, and you know, he of course had a previous run-in with the law, but it was nothing major. You know, to just see them keep running his mugshot, you know, all over the news.
What do you remember about those first few moments?
We were told he was suspected of breaking into cars. It wasn't until weeks later that it turned out there weren't any car break-ins.
Didn't happen.
No matter who did what, it's sad for everybody.
I think it hit me when someone put balloons by the pole where it happened. It was no longer a place that was a crime scene, it's someone being remembered.
Did you know an officer had pulled the trigger at that point?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. The next time I saw my son, the funeral home, I was standing over his body, looking down at him. A little version of me, you know.
It was a really painful time for everyone just to kind of accept that diagnosis and know that his mom was dying.
He was holding his mom's hand while she died.
Officer Burns angled his car, chirped, yelled stop. The vehicle did not stop. So why wouldn't somebody stop? Why would they conduct themselves in a way that would be perceived by an officer to be threatening?
Next, a reason why. You said there was something out there nobody had found. It looks like he'd be facing 24 years.
He was assaulted and dragged by a moving car like 68 feet.
He was not a suspect. No one was chasing him.
Plus, crimes from the past reappear.
The sound bites, the headlines are not the story.
There's no doubt that this is a tragedy that brings two families together.
He was the spark of the room.
This modern day Renaissance man.
It's just different from all those other cases.
Atlanta police have now fired an officer.
Burns was driving up Monroe Place when he says the driver was trying to leave the area and nearly ran him over, but police say there's video evidence to the contrary.
Arrest warrants have just been issued.
Burns is out on bond this morning on that murder charge.
It happened so quickly. I don't think I've ever seen that happen before to an Atlanta police officer.
What kind of factors are at play behind the scenes for that officer? Has he had an incident recently where he felt threatened and this was something that, you know, built up to that?
He was assaulted and dragged by a moving car like 68 feet, and the car stopped right before he hit a wall. It really just shakes you to the core.
Could that have influenced his decision to pull the trigger?
The officer, okay, has been the victim of aggravated assault. The motor vehicle is a deadly weapon there. It certainly can be a deadly weapon here.
In Rolfe's APD personnel file, we found cases that required him to go through an internal review. 3 involved his use of a taser. This one, resulted in a citizen's complaint for excessive force. In all of those incidents, APD found the officer's actions were justified. But Atlanta police ruled the officer was in the wrong when he fired a gun at Cain Rogers. Cain has a criminal history with 4 arrests. He's been charged with loitering, prowling, possession of drugs, and breaking into a car. Cain missed 6 court appearances and failed a drug test. On the day of his death, Cain faced up to 24 years in prison if he was found by police, but Rolfe had no way of knowing any of that when he fired the fatal shot.
It became apparent that the officer did not know anything about the person in the car. And without knowing any specific facts, he made a decision that ended up being exactly the wrong decision.
It's very hurtful when the initial picture that is painted in a person's death, that person is being made to be responsible for their own death. So I was glad to see that it was cleared up, that he was not a suspect. No one was chasing him.
Can you break that down? Can anybody, any person, break that down in their mind? Like, okay, you saw the news yesterday saying someone broke into a car and was shot by a police officer. Then, the next day you see that this officer has been charged with murder. So somewhere there was some wrongdoing and somewhere there was some injustice.
Next,
Officer Grigsby,
the officer who started it all.
Hey, do we have all the life jackets
y'all
back?
helping people? That's my canoe if y'all need to use it to get anybody back and forth. Okay. Assuming there's mailboxes under this. Well, everybody back up, back up! Okay, hold on. The current's pushing us. Whoa! Everybody hold on.
We're sinking.
I got it. Brother. Y'all see all these people? These are the people that are going to be helping y'all out. They got a whole crew here helping. Okay. We lost it when we played Titanic a while ago.
At least you have senses of humor.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much.
You did your part too. You were helping everybody out there.
You're welcome.
God bless you. God bless you guys.
Stay safe. Stay safe. You all have a place to go.
Yes, we do.
God bless.
Hey, thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, brother. God bless you.
What made you get out here to do it?
I did it last time, man. If you have the needs to do it, everybody can do it. We need to get back out.